Welcome to all. In this particular video, we will see the concept of schedulers. So you can see the diagram of a scheduler. So based on the numbers, you can see the kind of flow where this scheduler will be taking place. So from CPU, the input output waiting queue, there will be a control. So in the second thing, there is a concept of swap in. So if the partially executed swapped out processor will be given to the ready queue as a second step. In the third step, if the waiting is finished, IO waiting is finished, then IO will be given to the ready queue, and then from the ready queue the process will given to the CPU or central processing unit. So if there any concept of swap out, again it will be given to the that queue partially executed swapped out process. So that means if the priority is important, if the more priority process come into picture, then definitely it will reschedule the process. So to understand this concept, we will be seeing the concept of process, how to schedule the process, what is priority, how exactly this priority coming to picture whenever we talk about process. So we will see one by one. The first thing is, a process migrates between the various scheduling queues throughout its lifetime. The operating system must select for scheduling purpose process from these queues in some fashion. The selection process is carried out by the appropriate scheduler. So there has to be a concept of process selection. So that means in a particular operating system there will be n number of process. So based on this the priority, or based on the importance, the schedulers has to select the appropriate process to execute. Okay, so for example, I have given so many times, I have given this example. So for example, in your phone, your smartphone, you are running a web browser. It is a kind of process. So there will be a process which is given with its own PID, and it will be running in the CPU. At the same time, if you receive one WhatsApp notification or WhatsApp message, okay, on the top of that web browser you will be seeing the notification of a particular message, isn't it? It is a kind of intimation to you that there has there is a message which has arrived to your WhatsApp account, isn't it? You will see that those informations in your notification bar. So this is a kind of example I can give. Based on the priority, whatever it may be the ongoing process, based on the priority there will be a switching between the process. Okay, so if the message is very important, definitely you will minimize the web browser and you will directly jump to the WhatsApp, isn't it? That means in the background there will be a web browser which is continuously being run, isn't it, running? Okay, so that is one of the example I can give. Okay, the second point is the long-term scheduler or job scheduler selects a process from this pool and loads them into a memory for execution. The short-term scheduler or CPU scheduler selects from among the process that are already to that are ready to execute and allocates the CPU to one of them. So there is a two separate concepts like long-term scheduler and short-term scheduler, or job scheduler, or a job scheduler and CPU scheduler. Okay, in case of job scheduler or long-term scheduler, what it does, it selects process from the pool. So there will be a pool of process. That means if n number of processes are waiting for the resources, then definitely they will be kept in a particular pool or a queue. Okay, so it will select the process from there and loads them into the memory for execution. That is the work of job scheduler. Okay, from the queue it will select the particular process and it will put for the execution into the memory. Okay, the second thing is the CPU scheduler or short term scheduler. What it does, it will select the process that are ready to execute. That means there is a concept of waiting and ready, isn't it? So you would have seen the states of thing like waiting or ready state, execution state. All those states are available. So based on the nature of the process or state of the process, it will select the process. Okay, so that is the work of short-term scheduler. The primary distinction between these two schedulers is the frequency of their execution. So how frequent they are, how what is the frequency of their execution, based on that you can distinguish between the schedulers. Okay, the short-term scheduler must select a new process for the CPU frequently. So that is the work of short term scheduler, because if the process are ready for the execution, definitely it has to be given to the CPU so that it can execute the process and it can wind up that particular process. So it is the work of short term scheduler. A process may execute for only a few milliseconds before the waiting for an IO request. So definitely all these things are very fast, lightning fast. Okay, you cannot imagine, you cannot wait. It will be in a milliseconds. Okay, it may be for the execution or waiting, or it may be anything. So for example, say for example, you have already executed, I hope you have executed C programs. Okay, so after execution, say for example, you are writing a program to add two numbers. Say you are giving like 10,000 plus 1,50,000. Okay, within a fraction of second it will give the output, isn't it? But in the background there are so many works which are being carried out. It may be for passing, it may be for runtime errors. There may be a concept of checking the runtime errors, or all the instructions or lines of code has to be put into the memory. It has to be executed, it has to be processed, and it has to take the input has to be converted, then it has to add it up, and then it has to give that output to the monitor screen. It has to accelerate the hardware. There are so many works are being carried out in the background, but as a user you will never experience these things, isn't it? You will get the output within a fraction of second. Okay, so that is the reason why I said all these things are happening within a very short span of time. You don't need to wait for a longer duration. But in the previous time, the ancient computers, it was taking longer duration to calculate because of RAM. Okay, because of memory management, because of architecture, there was a concept of waiting time. Okay, but now in this particular era, in the particular processor or whatever the operating system you are using, or whatever the devices you are using, there is no concept of waiting time for the most of the scenarios. Okay, so there will be a waiting time in terms of CPU. There will be a concept of waiting time, but as a user you will never wait. Within a fraction of second you are going to get the output. Okay, the next thing is a long-term scheduler, on the other hand, executes much less frequently. There may be minutes between the creation of new processes in the system. The long-term scheduler controls the degree of multi-programming, the number of processes in the memory. If the degree of multi-programming is stable, then the average rate of process creation must be equal to the average departure rate of process leaving the system. So there is concept like, say, long-term scheduler, it will mainly concentrate on the multi-programming concept. Okay, so how many processes are available, how many processes are created, and how many processes are waiting. Okay, so based on the creation of processes, it has to see, there is a concept of pool, isn't it? Say something like, I can give the best example of say for example, you will be having one bucket. Okay, so in a dairy, you can think of dairy, in the milk dairy. Okay, there will be a big vessel, isn't it? And all the people will be coming with their can of milk, and they are going to pour those milk into that particular vessel. So if the person is coming, if the people are coming, if people will be standing, if, they are they came there to buy the milk. Okay, there will be a concept of giver and taker, isn't it? Giving and taking. So there will be separate queue for taking the milk from that vessel. So as soon as the vessel is full, the people, those who have brought their milk from their home, so they will be keep on waiting to fill up the vessel, isn't it? So the it is something like, if the vessel is full, people will pour that milk to the people, those who are standing in a buying queue. So once a vessel is empty, again these people, those who are waiting to pour the milk from which has bought from their home, they will pour to that vessel, and vessel again get filled up. In the same fashion, if there are so many processes, those processes will be in queue or pool. As soon as the waiting process are given to the CPU, the pool will become gradually it will become empty. At the same time, this schedulers has to reschedule the extra process, or if the creation rate is more, then definitely based on the creation rate only, it has to forward the waiting process to the CPU. So it is something like queuing system. As soon as your service is being given to the end user, all your work will be done. You are going to kill that particular process. That is the meaning. So that is nothing but the average rate of process creation must be equal to the average departure rate of process leaving the system. So that means once the processes are executed, then there is no concept, no longer it is required, isn't it? It will be thrown out or it will be killed. If the processes are done, their work is done. So that is the meaning of that particular statement. Okay, now the next concept is context switch. Okay, switching the CPU to another process requires saving the state of the old process and loading the saved state for a new process. This task is known as context switch. The context of a process is represented in the PCB of a process. It includes the value of the CPU registers. So that is nothing but, if you are, say for example, you can take the same example which I have given in the initial stage. Say for example, you are using browser, so you are finding something. Say for example, you are typing hi in the Google search bar. Once you hit enter, it will take a fraction of second, isn't it? At the same time, if you are going to some other applications, so the previous state, process state, has to be saved, isn't it? Otherwise, how it will come back, say whenever you are getting back to the web browser, how it will show the ongoing searching things or ongoing task, isn't it? So it has to be saved somewhere. That is what they're trying to say. The saving of that previous job is called context switch. So you can visualize that concept using this image. Okay, so in the process one, so if there any interrupt or system calls, in the concept of interrupt means if there is any priority or if there any other processes are hitting to the CPU, then the ongoing CPU, the ongoing process or ongoing execution of process has to be paused, and it has to saved somewhere. The state has to be saved. That is what they say. The OS will maintain that. There is, if there any process 2 coming into picture, then process 1 has to be saved. The state of that process has to be saved in the PCB, and once it is done, once the priority process has finished the execution, then it can jump to the previous process. Ultimately, it is something like, say for example, you are going say you are driving your own car in the city. Okay, if there any VVIP vehicle is passing by, then definitely traffic police will stop your vehicle, and it will make a way for that VVIP vehicle, isn't it? Say for example, MLA or MPs are going, then definitely your vehicle has to be stopped. That work is done by the traffic police. Once they pass us, isn't it? Once their vehicle pass by, then you are allowed to move. In the same fashion, if the priority of the process is more, definitely you will be paused somewhere, the process will be paused somewhere, the process state will be paused somewhere, and the higher priority process are being executed. Once their execution is done, then you will be allowed to execute your own process. That is the meaning. Ultimately, you can think of like that example can be visualized. So instead of going for vehicle, it is a concept of process. Fine, that is nothing but context switch. Okay, when a context switch occurs, the kernel saves the context of the old process in its PCB and loads the saved context of the new process scheduled to run. So context switch time is pure overhead because the time does no useful work while switching. Definitely, so if you are going for the new process and if you're saving the old process, definitely it is a overhead for the CPU, because it will not do any important work at that time, because it will be waiting, isn't it? The process will be waiting for the execution, so it will be in the PCB. That is the meaning. It speed the its speed varies from machine to machine, depending on the memory speed, the number of registers that must be copied, and the existence of special instructions. So definitely, that is the reason why I said in the previous time, you have to wait for the execution, you have to wait longer time for the processing. But now the scenario has changed. You have faster RAMs, you have so many great technology which is being used for the computers and the machines. The work of machines has gradually increased, their performance has increased, so efficiency also has increased. So that is the reason why all these things will be taken care for explanation. So you cannot just imagine the previous systems now. So you have faster systems, and you can execute, you can work anything on the system within a fraction of second. It may be a game, it may be file processing, it may be sending, transferring, browsing, or creating something. Or if you're using high-end applications, again you will not be seen any delay. So all those things are there. So based on the architecture of a system, all these things will take care. That context switching and all the concepts are taking care. It is a general point actually, but this general point is valid for context switch also. The context switch times are highly depend on the hardware support. For instance, some processor provide the multiple set of registers. Definitely, again the concept of architecture came into picture. So based on the hardware support, based on the RAM speed, based on the quality of memory you are using in your system, this context switch will ultimately work on that. Okay, so what you mean by context switch? If the old processor has to be stopped, then their state has to be saved in a PCB. Okay, so this task is known as context switch, because if you are switching between the process, definitely the previous process has to be saved, the state of that process has to be saved. That is nothing but context switch. Okay, so this is the example you can take. Fine. The next thing is cooperating process. Definitely, because when you have multiple process running in a same system, in the same machine, definitely there is a concept of cooperating, isn't it? So if two people are working in a same project or same field, then definitely there has to be some cooperation, otherwise there will be a fight, isn't it? Say for example, you and your brother or sister is working, or say for example, your mother has said to cook something, and it is not just on your head, your sister, your sibling also helping you out. Okay, so if there any concept of putting some new ingredients to that particular food, definitely if the cooperation is not there with among yourself, definitely there will be a fight. So your brother or sister will say that she or he will put that ingredient, or you will say that no, mother has to praise me, definitely I will put the ingredient. So there has to be some understanding between you and your sibling. In the same fashion, in the system also, there has to be some understanding between the process, or cooperating has to be there in the processes. So the how it will done, how it will be done, and how you are going to achieve it, we will see one by one. The concurrent process executing in the operating system may be either independent process or cooperating process. So the process is independent if it can't affect or be affected by the other process executing in the system. Clearly, any process that does not share any data with any other process is independent. Say the simple example is, say if you are running any antivirus, if the antivirus program is running in your system, in some cases, in some softwares, or network related softwares, while installing, I don't know whether you have experienced it or not, but if you are a geeky person, or if you are very enthusiastic person with respect to systems, definitely you would have seen this kind of scenarios. Say for example, while installing some application or network related applications, there will be a warning message that someone has, or some application has stopped your installation. Have you ever seen? Because of antivirus, that process is continuously running in your system, it will not allow to install your application or network related softwares, because of some vulnerability issues, or there may be a harmful effect to the system. That is the reason maybe it is running, it is stopping you. Or you would have seen the some other example I can give. In your smartphone, if you are not installing the application from your Play Store, if you are getting the third party application from your browser, definitely you have to enable one option in your settings, isn't it? Allow or install, for installing the third party application, there has to be some settings has to be changed. You have to enable that control. So outside the software, allow to install the outside software or third party software, and it will give one pop up. It may harm your hardware device, or it may harm your device. Have you ever seen? So these are the some of the concept for cooperating. I just example I'm giving, because if there any misunderstanding with respect to the processes, then it will definitely affect your OS. Okay, so that's why they say, so if independent process means it will never bother about the rest of the process, or it will not affect the rest of the process. It will be keep on running by its own. It will never disturb anyone. But if there any process which requires some other process, help of other process, then definitely the cooperating has to take place. Say for example, network process as well as SMS process, or say for example, network process as well as your WhatsApp application process. So there has to be some cooperating, isn't it? If there is no network, your message will not be delivered. Or if you are not using WhatsApp message with every time, still your network process has to be keep on running, because you may be using web browser, or you may be watching something on your YouTube, isn't it? That means network process has to be keep on running, but you are say the example is you are not using the WhatsApp message, a separate process is not running. So if you are running a shared process, or if it requires the help of some other process, then definitely there has to be some cooperating thing. Okay, a process is cooperating if it can affect or be affected by the other process executing in the same system. Clearly, any process that shares the data with other process is cooperating process. That is what just now I said. So that is an example I have given. This they are giving the standardized statement. Okay, so we may want to provide an environment that allows process cooperation for a several reasons. So there are some reasons which you have to understand. The first one is information sharing. Since several users may be interested in the same piece of information, we must provide an environment to allow the concurrent access to that resources. Say for example, how many of you used the application which will give the user details or car registration details of RTO? Say for example, there are so many applications in Android which will take the vehicle number, RC number, or registration number of your car or bike, and it will fetch all the when it was registered, what is the model number, which vehicle. Owner names, for security purpose it won't give the owner's names, but it will give and a partial chassis number, and all those information will be provided. That means, say for example, that application can be used by so many people. isn't it? That means so many people are attacking a same database which will be which has stored all the information of Indian RTO or Indian vehicles, isn't it? Is that is the meaning? So there has to be, if the information sharing is there, then there is a concept of cooperating process. There has to be the process has to abide the rules and regulations of the system. Next thing is computation speed up. If we want to particular, if you want a particular task to run faster, we must break it into subtask, each of which will be executing in a parallel with the others. Such a speed up can be achieved only if the computer has multiple processing elements. So this computation speed up, we can think of cooking. Say for example, in the marriage functions, okay, there will be so many people who are cooking their own part of work. They will be doing their own part of work, isn't it? Someone may be doing pulao, someone may be doing some so, say for example a payasa or something like that. So there will be so many items will be there in the marriage function, and there will be so many people also who are working. Someone may be cutting the vegetables, or someone mixing, or someone making the masala, or someone will be making they are cooking the rice, or they are say for example transferring the item from one place to another place. There are so many people will be doing so many work. Ultimately there has to be some cooperation, isn't it? Without cooperation you cannot achieve the best food at the end for the marriage purpose, for marriage function. People will be coming, most of the people are coming to eat only. When I am going to any marriage function, definitely my prime intention, or main intention will be to eat. We will be seeing what are the foods, isn't it? What are the dishes available for the sweet, what are the dishes available for kara, and all those things we will be figuring out, isn't it? Ultimately if the food has to be good, then definitely the people, those who are working for in the kitchen, they have to cooperate with each other, and they have to work, isn't it? There should not be any misunderstanding. If there any misunderstanding in the kitchen, definitely it will see in the food. Correct. So in the same fashion, this speed up also, same thing. If there any complex processor or complex things are running in the system, it has to be broken down, so that the small processor or subtask will be executed easily, and ultimately you are increasing you are speeding up the system. That is the meaning. Okay, the next thing is modularity. We may want to construct the system in a modular fashion, dividing the system function into separate process or threads. Okay, so if you want to make a modular function is nothing but if the system function, if it is complex, or if you want to make it a kind of modular one, then definitely you have to separate the function into some process or threads, so that the concurrently you can run so many tasks. Okay, ultimately you are making this process or threads because the for the purpose of concurrent execution. That is the meaning. Okay, the next thing is convenience. Even an individual user may have many tasks on which to work at a one time. For instance, user may be editing, printing, and compiling in parallel. It is possible. You can get the example of Google Sheets. I don't know how many of you as students, how many of you use the Google Sheets, but the beauty of Google Sheet is you can share the sheet to many people. Say for example 100 people, and 100 people can simultaneously edit the data present in the Google Sheet. That is a beauty. Okay, so you don't need to save also. Auto save will be there automatically. Whatever the changes you do on that Google Sheet, automatically it will be saved, and many people will be working simultaneously to build that sheet. Say for example there has to be 1,000 data which has to be entered to that particular Excel sheet. Means if you are sharing that sheet link to 100 people, 100 people can simultaneously work on that particular Excel sheet, so that the processing time will be very less, or completion of that work will be very fast, because 100 people will be simultaneously working on a same task. They will be doing same task. So these are the some of the convenient things, isn't it? Because your work will be easy, your work will not take more time, and your execution will be good, and all the beneficial things will be taken care. At the same time, there will be some problems. That is a separate part of story, because if one of them have given, or has given some faulty information to that sheet, definitely that also will be updated, and it will create some inconvenience in the future. That is a separate part of story. But ultimately, if you are willing, if you are targeting a particular feature or efficiency, then definitely these things will be parallel. Running something on parallel will be definitely beneficial for an end user. That is the meaning. Okay, to illustrate the concept of cooperating process, let us consider the producer consumer problem, which is a common paradigm for cooperating process. The producer process produces the information that is consumed by the consumer process. For example, a print program produces a character that are consumed by the printer driver. A compiler may produce assembly code which is consumed by the assembler. To assembler in turn may produce object modules which is consumed by the loader. So ultimately these examples they have given, which are being seen inside the computer system. Okay, so this producer consumer is nothing but, say for example, in real time example which I can give means, say in your home itself, mother is a producer, and as a children you are, or as a child or children, you are the consumers, isn't it? Mother will cook the food and she will serve, and you will eat and you will go, isn't it? As soon as food is ready, you are going to take your plate and you are going to eat, isn't it? Is something like she has produced something and you are consuming. But you can take any example. It is a simple, very simple example I have given. You can go for crops, isn't it? Farmers are cultivating the crops, and as a consumer you are going to buy the things, and all those things. Examples can be real world examples can be seen. But in terms of computer system, there is a concept. Say they have given some print program, so the series of characters will be given to the printer driver. From then only it will be useful, or it will be given to the printing press, or all these things are step by step things are happening in the background. Okay, the next thing is producer can produce one item while a consumer is consuming another item. The producer and consumer must be synchronized so that the consumer does not try to consume an item that has not yet been produced. In this situation, the consumer must wait until an item is produced. This is also a correct thing. Okay, so for example, same example I can take. So your mother is preparing biryani and you are expecting dosa, then it will be a problem, isn't it? Because she's actually almost ready with the biryani, but you are expecting some masala dosa or any dosas. Okay, so that has not that should not be done. So there has to be some synchronization. Mother has to say that I am preparing biryani, if you are willing you can eat, something like that. There has to be some message passing concept. Otherwise your expectation will be different and she is preparing something different. There has not that should not be done. So this is a real time world example I have given. But in terms of computer system, what it has, so whatever the process it is producing, or whatever the task it is doing, the same thing has to be used by the end user. It is not something like you are doing something different and the system is doing something different. That should not be done anyway. Okay, so that is what this producer and consumer concept. The next thing is the unbounded buffer producer consumer problem places a no practical limit on the size of the buffer. Definitely whenever I say about the consumer and producer, whenever the some task or information is being produced, it has to be stored somewhere. There has to be some buffer, isn't it? There has to be some memory. Okay, so whenever you talk about unbounded buffer, that means there is no limit for the memory. So whatever the production of the information or production of the data or result, it can be stored in a memory, and based on that consumer can retrieve that information, and it can the consumer can use that information for his or her work. Okay, the consumer may have to wait for new items, but the producer can always produce new items. The bounded buffer producers the consumer problem assumes a fixed buffer size. In this case, the consumer must wait if the buffer is empty, and the producer must wait if the buffer is full. Obviously, this is a simple thing. If the in the case of bounded buffer, if the producer has produced so many things and if the buffer is full, definitely for the next time producer has to wait, because that the buffer has to get empty. The consumer has to consume that information from the buffer, isn't it? So this is the simple thing they have given. It is no, there is nothing like rocket science over here. Okay, the buffer may either be provided by the operating system through the use of an IPC or interprocess communication facility, or by explicitly coded by the application programmer with the use of shared memory. Let us illustrate the shared memory solution in the bounded buffer problem. Okay, so this is something like, see, there is a concept of IPC, interprocess communication. This is a very important concept. So if there any multiple process scenario, there has to be some inter-process communication, isn't it? Between the process there has to be some communication for the better execution. Okay, so that is what they are saying. The buffer may either be provided by the operating system can provide this memory or buffer, or the use of IPC facility can give this concept of buffer by communicating with respect to the processes, or explicitly programmer can give the memory. So there is a concept of malloc alloc, isn't it? I hope you have used this concept in C, malloc. So allocating the memory for your program. Real lock and free is used to vanish or delete the memory. Malloc alloc for allocation the memory, isn't it? So there is a predefined function which can be used to allocate the memory for your program. That is what they are saying. The program explicitly programmer can allocate the memory for the work. That is the meaning. Okay, now there is a small concept of process communication. I have just put up all those things in the PPT. The IPC provides a mechanism to allow the process to communicate and synchronize their action without sharing the same address space. So there can be a message passing, there can be some flag bits, there can be some information share, or retrieval, or transfer of information between the process, and ultimately the process will be keep on synchronized with each other for the better execution or better continuation of the work. IPC is particularly useful in a distributed environment where the communicating process may reside on a different computer connected with a network. For example, is a chat program used in a World Wide Web, definitely. So here there are two processes, isn't it? Say for example, you and your friend using WhatsApp. Okay, ultimately WhatsApp is nothing but while running it is a process. It's the same process. Here also you are using WhatsApp, there also in his phone also he is using WhatsApp. Ultimately there are two processes are running concurrently. At that time, if you are sending hi message from your phone to his phone, definitely it is something like from your process you are running hi to his process, isn't it? There has to be some connection, isn't it? It is distributed because you are not using the same device to send the message. One process is residing in your phone, another process is residing in your friend's phone who is sitting in Bangalore. For example, you are sitting in Bangalore and he is sitting in Bangalore, but still there will be a concept of sending the message from your system to his system. So ultimately it is something like you from your process to his process. So there is a communication between these two processes. It is an example given for inter-process communication, and it is very important because when you are dealing with the multiple process in the same system, there has to be some communication between the process for the better execution, or for the smooth execution, I can say. Fine. So these are some of the information I just wanted to give in this particular video. So let me wind up here. So rest of the concepts I will put up in the next video. Thanks for watching.